Welcome everyone to Greater Talks. This is our episode 9, and we've been in discussions now, actually this past hour, about the economics of our country. We were actually this morning with a quite famous fund manager, and we saw some stats that's not always, good to hear as South Africans, and especially where we want to take our country. Stefan, so if you have any, obviously you've got a lot of things to say between you and Michael. If you can maybe just start off and maybe let me throw you the question regarding our economy that's not stimulated, and obviously the economy that actually in 2020 went to the minuses, and maybe just specifically that stat that we saw regarding the economy that need to be stimulated, and especially our journey, what we discussed about youngsters that needed to start businesses, and we discussed now earlier that okay, but there need to be employment. So maybe if we can just have this discussion regarding elaborating on that.
Yeah, I think there's been, especially in previous episodes, there's been a lot of talk with regards to that we believe that there needs to be a huge entrepreneurial spin on growing the economy, right? And I mean, this morning's conversation, which was really a privilege. We sat with one of the the bigger funds in the country's fund manager, and I don't necessarily want to touch on the upside that he spoke to with regards to the South African equity markets. And there was a lot of talk with regards to our the stock exchange in South Africa and our capital markets being underpriced. The question becomes, I think, from our perspective, is what does that mean for the economy? First quick stab at it from a capital market perspective is that, listen, if we're underpriced, surely that's an opportunity for funds to actually come into the economy, right? Because there's really investment opportunity in South Africa. But the discussion then went on with regards to the risk factor, because this is the problem. You're sitting with currency risk, in South Africa, and you're sitting with a lot of perceived risk factors, for example, political risk, Eskom, infrastructure, all of those things, right? So it's a very difficult conversation that to have in terms of how does that actually stimulate and grow our economy. I think with regards to our audience and what we trying to actually, or the conversation that we trying to stimulate or start is on the entrepreneurial side, right? Especially amongst the younger generation, to say, listen, don't have a short-term view, in terms of going after your dream and building a business, going after real opportunity. Actually have a long-term view about it and say, listen, if you're going to build a big company, if you're going to employ a lot of people, you need to start now, because to get to that size is going to take time. There are few businesses that just explode in a short period of time. So don't be weary to actually start the business that you carry in your heart, right? And with that being said, this is something that we've now discussed pre the episode, right? That I want to throw to Mike, and I'll give some background, right? I mean, Michael is an admitted attorney, studied law, and this is something that happens with a lot of people globally, right? But I mean, we can talk specifically towards South Africa. People take all of this time, they go and study something, and then they enter the marketplace, and they literally don't do what they studied. And so the question becomes, point number one, did they waste time going to varsity, getting a tertiary qualification? Would it be better to actually just start something fresh out of school, or even after varsity, whatever the case may be? But if you could share some of your thoughts on this, because I mean, it is a challenge, and then obviously there's student debt, and there's all of those things that come into play as well. So if you could maybe touch on that and share your thoughts, and we'll chime in.
So you mentioned there that you need to have like a long-term plan, and I can honestly say that's probably something I didn't have. For me, grade 11, grade 12, you're looking at what you need to go study, and for me it was either like econometrics or law, and I thought, okay, no, law sounds a bit appetizing. So, and again, I didn't have the long-term plan, like where am I going to go from there? What does 10 years, 15 years look like down the line? So applied for law, got accepted. studied at Tux. And even then, studying law, I didn't really have a vision of where I was going to go in terms of like what law firms am I going to apply for. And like second year came around, and I was like, geez, okay, you probably need to start applying for articles now. And luckily, by the grace of God, I got articles at one of the bigger firms in the country. But for me, I think I always knew like I had a passion outside of law. Like I wanted to be in business, grow my own businesses. But I saw law as like a stepping stone. So even whilst doing articles and the few years that I was an associate afterwards, like I never had that passion. So I didn't see myself doing it for a long time.
The corporate route.
Exactly. So I quickly realized, look, if I'm going to be entrepreneurial or a businessman, like where I am now is not really gearing me for that, because I'm going to get caught in the rat race. And the longer I'm there, the less experience I have in other things. So I think 2 years into being an associate, I was like, oof.
And this is something for me, because we discussed this, and I cannot remember what episode, I think it was 4, but we discussed about, you know, especially that group of women that I spoke to, about, okay, but everybody should not leave the corporate, you know, because some think, yes, they're going to leave the corporate environment and have a great time, you know, in being an entrepreneur, and then reality hits them. And then I think that, so there's a lot of, you know, metrics and situations that are not similar to each other regarding people that, you know, don't have a fixed income, or that doesn't have a fixed job, or some sort of, you know, something that they work on. But the thing for me is because that's the middle thing for me. Who need to leave the corporate? Because everybody cannot leave the corporate environment. And I'm in this middle thing regarding this discussion, because our economy needs to be stimulated. We saw that if you don't spend, you're not going to stimulate the economy. So our country doesn't spend. And Stefan said, okay, but now people need to earn more. And obviously to spend, that's a relative simple, you know, sum to make. But the thing for me is people need to take that step either on their own to decide what they're going to do, or need to decide then, okay, sure, but now I need to build this corporate ladder, or climb the corporate ladder and build myself into the system. But for me, it's always like a thing, but who makes that call? Because sometimes small businesses as well. So people keep on believing that this, and then 5 years along the line, that business is not there anymore. So they're anyway sitting without a job, but they're skilled to do some, you know, part of this. For instance, I worked with the other lady that's quite good in filming, and she literally worked for a firm currently, but now she wants to leave the firm and start her own thing, obviously. And you get my point now. Yes, she's got all these things that need to happen. But it's, you get me, it's almost that they've got the skill, but they're still in the system. But where's this going? Is it going to go somewhere? They don't know. It's not all businesses is going you know, going to grow over the next 10 years. But still, we sit with a country with a 40% unemployment rate, or close to 40% unemployment rate. So, and that's something that I think we need to try to get to in these discussions is, okay, but that 40%, do you go apply for jobs? Clearly there's not enough jobs, otherwise the people would have got jobs and there would have been lines out. Some firms, yes, there are. The previous firm that I worked, or the previous company that I worked at, we employed a hell of a lot of people in the last 5 years. But that was a growing, you know, sector in a growing market. But not all are growing. So where do the growth come from?
Well, I think that's sort of what we're trying to get at in terms of actually starting new businesses, right? Because I mean, there's the business owner portion of it, actually starting a business to, you know, employ people, common cause, whether you sell product or services, and then there's obviously the solopreneur, right? So just selling your own services. The thing is, if we can jump back just to your situation, right? Because I think this is very relevant, right? You obviously realized, and here's the thing: you studied law, you were well qualified. you know, and you had a great opportunity in a sizable firm, global firm, right?
Yeah.
And even in your situation, which, you know, some might be called privilege,
Yeah.
you know, it's not the easiest thing to even make the jump to business.
No.
So what would you say were the challenges, right? What were the things that held you back to actually go out and actually do something on your own or start something on your own? Or what would be the challenges that you faced?
I think for me, it was probably the risk factor. Like I saw that there was a good career projection if I had stayed there. And if you leave that, then it might not work outside of that.
Yes.
So for me, the decision was based on, okay, passion and purpose. And I didn't have a passion for what I was doing. And I don't believe that's my purpose in life, was to stay there. So for me, then following passion and purpose outweighed the risk. So I'm not chasing necessarily earning potential here, but I'm going to go after my dreams and desires. And I understood that the potential here is bigger. Although there's risk, the potential for me is bigger. Let's talk about like growing family, generational wealth, again, passion and purpose, doing what I love, as opposed to being stuck there in the rat race. Sure, the earnings might be good, but I'm going to be unhappy.
Yes, I hear you. And the thing is, you know, to your point, DáNiel, is I think one of the biggest things when it comes to people actually going after something to start a business or to build something, you know, that has economic opportunity is there's such, especially when I listen to a lot of people, there's such a lack of clarity with regards to what the actual thing is that they want to do.
Yeah.
A lot of people, you know, can muster up the confidence to go and do something or try something, but a huge challenge is that they don't have clarity as to what is the exact value proposition that they want to bring to the market, the exact thing, and we've touched on this in our private conversations, right? The simple fact that clarity precedes mastery. If you're not clear about exactly what it is that you want to bring to the marketplace, there's no way that you could master that. And obviously, if you're not going to master the service or the product that you're going to bring to the marketplace, there's no way that you can turn that into economic value because people won't be willing to pay for it, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things. But for me, so I see it as two things. Okay, so in our, let's say, some of the private conversations we had, it was established, let's say, industries, which means if you're an accountant and you don't know how to, you know, calculate tax and returns and all of that and balance sheets, people are not going to pay you for that. So that's a skill you need to understand.
Yeah.
The thing, and that's now just taking the, you know, in accounting, that sector. But I think where that becomes difficult is people don't know what. So accountant goes study account, he studied law. The thing is they skilled something, they mastered something.
Yeah, they're professionals, right?
Yeah.
They're professionals
in that,
something.
and they can sell something.
Yeah.
Yes.
The problem is more, let's say, Michaels out there that studied maybe something, but they don't want to sell that.
Yeah.
Because if you take Michael out his law firm,
Yeah.
what does Michael then sell outside of law to get paid for, you know, that service that they sell? And I think
Exactly.
that's something we spoke about in also our private conversations, is people need to fail in exploring that.
Correct. Yeah.
Because they need to be busy with things, so there would be a luring towards something. There would always be something that if they're truly honest with themselves, there would always be one thing that they really wanted.
And I know this is such a bad place to stop you, but I'm scared that I forget, and there's real value in
Give
this.
you my notebook.
You should. But I'll tell you why. Because DáNiel was telling me this morning, and I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but it's a guy that DáNiel knows well, who ventured out into business at a young age, you know, and tried a lot of things. And I don't know if he made a post or how the fact came out, but he's now starting to really sort of become successful, or at least it would appear to be the case. And he made a statement that he's got the better part of 80 plus failed businesses to his name, and he's young, he's definitely sub 35, I would say. He's got the better part of 80 plus failed businesses to his name, and he's only now starting to see a measure of success. And first of all, hats off to that, because you can imagine the level of endurance and commitment and discipline that you need to be willing to fail 80 times and only then start seeing success, right? And that's what I'm saying. I wanted to interject on that note because
this is so relevant.
So relevant and so valuable, because a lot of people aren't willing to fail 80 times or whatever the number is before they start seeing
He didn't know
success,
exactly
right?
what he wanted to do. He just knew he's born for business, but he failed.
Yeah.
And failed.
Failed forward, learning. See, Shibit, this is not the way.
Correct.
Go towards. If you know you're a designer, design stuff,
Yeah.
paint stuff, do things. Just keep on being busy. The thing is that I truly believe people wanna and well, let me finish that. People wanna be successful, but the journey is keeping them, from doing things.
Correct.
And because the moment they get busy and getting out of that comfort zone, it's not always a good feeling to get out of your comfort zone.
No.
It's never a good feeling.
It's never a good feeling, but that's where you get the return. That's where you really figure out what's happening if you get out of that comfort zone. I cannot remember where a stat, I don't know if it was the discussion this morning, but good businesses, historically, new, innovative businesses, historically, came out of difficult times in that businesses. Most valuable companies had to resolve for something, and they came up with their aha moment regarding in that company that built the value.
Yes.
I actually think it's Dr. Miles Monroe. Now that I went it was Dr. Miles Monroe that mentioned it. That there's something towards a person need to be in a difficult situation, getting yourself out of that comfort zone. And that's why and listen, I'm not against corporate companies, against the corporate ladder, but that is a system that keeps certain people trapped.
Correct.
Because it's a comfort zone that they get into. We met another guy last week that literally built himself great into the corporate ladder, and he climbed this ladder and he's successful. The thing is, some people get paralyzed within that system, and it's only that person that can decide, do I need to be within the system? Am I actually, putting my talents under like a bucket that I'm never going to excel, that I'm not going to be happy? Or do I get myself out of the system? Because it's habit. If you get a salary, a fixed salary, you don't need to, if you slew a little bit, some companies obviously got good measures in place that they can, measure the staff and sales. But the thing is, if you're fixed on a salary, your performance is, you're never going to get into that position where you're under the pump, where you need to make a decision. This is die. What's it?
Do or
to live
die.
or to die.
Yeah, do or die.
Do or die. So, and you can see, because this specific guy that I referred to this morning, he was in a situation where he was literally, he said, so his words was, ek was gatvol. So he was done. He said, till this point, he's done. He's not gonna, and I don't know at what point he were and how many businesses after that failed before things went, in his favor. But the thing is, he made a decision that now that he's done. And it's the same thing that, so I had this thing where I was super busy. Because it comes down to that type of mindset for me. And you know about this, that there was a period around 2014 to 17 that really our business grew quite, rapidly. And I thought I'm busy. And my father would have taught me, so he would have asked me for stuff that I couldn't make meetings because I was busy with the things that he did. And he said to me, listen, you're going to be so busy that you miss all of the other things that you need to do. And I made a decision there and then that I cannot be too busy. So even my, let's say, my bandwidth, if I can call it that, that I thought I could do within a day. I just made a clear, conscious decision that I will never tell myself that I'm too busy for anything. I've got enough time. If I don't have a meeting, I can do meetings at 10, at night. I can do meetings at 4 a.m. in the morning if I need to. There's always time. There's always enough time. And you'll see the people that went to that, the same as this guy that said, I'm gatvol, is they made a conscious decision that there's not only 12 hours, there's 24 hours. There's days upon days. and they made a clear decision that from now on, going forward, I'm going to do my utmost best and drive in one direction to build something. And that over time brings, I would say, a 40% unemployment out of. They need to decide that they need to make that conscious decision to say they got for that situation, the situation they are in. Forget about the past. We need to look at the future.
Yes.
But that's a conscious decision, I believe,
It
needs to be.
I think, and to your point with regards to, when do people leave corporate or not, right? So, I mean, there's obviously the people that need to make the decision with regards to do they go and study, or, after they've studied, they then actually go out into business, right?
Yeah.
But to your point with regards to exiting corporate, I think, especially this guy, that we referenced, is there's a certain type of individual that definitely doesn't need to be or shouldn't be in corporate. You shouldn't go and climb the corporate ladder, right? And I think 100%. And what I'm trying to say is that, and I think that's the point that we really want to get across, is that I think there's a lot of people in South Africa and in Africa that are sitting within this corporate ladder because they've been chimed into this funnel of this is the way to do things.
Well, that's a system. That's a school system learning you into this way.
Exactly right. And now they're sitting in this situation where they can feel, and they know themselves by now, they can feel that, listen, this isn't right, and that there's something burning on the inside of them. And I think the message that we're trying to convey is, listen, don't move irresponsibly. But the reality is, because there's obviously planning and things that need to come into place here before you make a call like that.
Entrepreneurial. You need to educate yourself on that as well, not just make.
Well, you don't just start a business, right?
Yeah.
But the idea being that there's a sort of a call to action for all of those people to actually really then start by stepping out and saying, but listen, I've got some value to bring to the marketplace. And here's the thing. And I think this is very important. I think a lot of people just jump into business because they want to buy a Lambo.
Yeah.
And I think in the South African sense, in the African sense as well, there really is a case to be made that if you've got something tugging on your heart that you want to start within the marketplace, do it to bring value to people, in the sense that you want to employ people in this nation. Do you really want to employ people? Because then you're not only bringing value to the marketplace being, the actual commercial side of it, selling the services or the product, but actually bringing value to the labor marketplace. And ultimately, that will actually then grow and drive results.
There's a huge difference between all the oaks that drive the Lambos that signed a government deal and actually build a business from the ground up. It's two worlds apart.
Yeah, listen, signing one deal and making a lot of money is a whole nother ball game if you're going to build a business.
We must understand. Most of the money that we see from let's say a flash cat perspective currently roaming around is people that had and not to, I don't want to generalize, but that's just we know where the money goes. It's not a secret anymore. Go down to Durban, you can look how many Lambos are there. But then you look at the average income of our country, it's the sums doesn't add up. So the thing is that the reference that we've got is a lot of people making a lot of money because it's a closed circle, and it's tenders. Okay. It's a different ball game, building your own truck company from the ground up without any tender. Different ball game. So, and that's something that needs to be not shown to the market, but that don't flip and try to see your friend had yesterday he was in Bapong or wherever, and today he's driving a Lambo. Not the case in business.
Well, the problem is he's going to lose that Lambo
to build a big business. It took him 40 years. For me to enable us to do anything in the business. 40. And my grandfather before that, maybe also 40. So, and the same with any big, if you call it family businesses. Look at the history of the family businesses. Look at the history of, there's some great guys in Cape Town. People see their money now. And then they see the Lambos and the stuff. Go look at the story, what they went through when they were teenagers. What failed, like this other friend of mine that failed in 89 businesses. Look at the history. Luckily with him now, I know him, so I know that the personalities, all that stuff. But he was a hustler from grade, let's say 8. So the thing is,
it takes time and commitment, right?
success doesn't come quickly. And if it does, there should be a huge question mark.
Well, because there's this trend, right? And there are outliers. There are outliers. I mean, listen, if you shoot for the moon and you hit the stars right and you get it right, I mean, listen, God bless you.
There's also a journey in that.
Yeah, there is a journey,
There
but
was
what
a skill mastered over time. If it wasn't, so no matter, you get my point.
I agree, DáNiel, but what I'm trying to say is that that is definitely not the norm.
That's not the norm.
And so people think that's the norm, and if they don't get it right, then they just quit, right?
Well,
As opposed to
that's the image that's shown on TikTok. That's the image that's shown on the whole Dubai life. Everybody that did their thing in crypto now moves to Dubai, drive Lambos, drive Ferraris, and then our country sits with 40% unemployment, and people get depressed about it.
Exactly.
Because they can.
Well, because the focus there was money, right? As opposed to here, it's actually building
business. They
business.
created that environment. Now it's working for them. We're not in that environment. So don't go to Durban now and go look at all the Lambos and twak. You need to have your 5 years or 3 years or at least your 50 hours. Let's just start with
Let's
50
start with
hours.
50 hours, yeah.
With the topic that you want to grow into and master that first.
Because
before you want to go to that lifestyle.
On the 50 hours, okay, before we get to the 50 hours, something that you made me think of that I think is relevant, right, is it's something that our pastor said once from the pulpit, speaking to all of the young people in the church, and he said, learn in your 20s, yearn in your 30s, and earn in your 40s. And yes, we've discussed that at length because there's so much of value in that. Learn in your 20s, you need to understand that you need to become knowledgeable, right? It doesn't help you pray for wisdom when you have wisdom, but you've got no knowledge to apply that wisdom on you know? And then yearn in your 30s. So that's where the reference comes in with regards to working hard, you know, when your back is still strong, actually paying the price when you can carry the load. And if you do that well, then earn in your 40s. That's a 30-year period, right? And not to say that you can't do it in 10 or in 15 or whatever the case may be, but there's principle involved here.
Everybody's got their different journey to walk.
Exactly.
Keep your focus on your own journey. Keep your focus on your path that you need to do. Forget about the flipping noise around you, because that's what's derailing people.
Exactly.
It's really it's the noise that keep people negative. She'll have hope because you've got the idea. Then you tell your friend. I always say, lose lip, sink ships. The thing is, you tell your friend. Then your friend tells you, you never, because they know you.
Yes.
So maybe you made a decision that no, I'm not gonna be this guy that I were before. I'm going to commit to this.
Yes.
But now you tell your friend, I'm going to take this thing on. Then it's, you going to do that.
Yeah.
And then it keeps you back into that old you, if I can, call it that. So the thing for me is people need to commit and then at least put like a year or 2 years towards something. Don't falling towards, now you're doing this, now you're doing this.
You need to be willing to pay the price.
If you're super entrepreneurial, pursue the things.
Yeah.
But you need to be a master of something.
Yeah.
You need to master some type of skill, and that's where I think the 50 hours comes in, is to spend your time on something. You didn't become a lawyer spending time on the athletics field.
No.
You spend time at the books, studying what you need to learn to become a lawyer, because you need to understand the laws, and they need to be imprinted in your head. So the thing is that and I actually, we must maybe discuss that later. I would like to know how many hours you study. But the thing is, you need to, it doesn't come over, and people want to talk about topics and stuff, but they don't know about it. Because they hearsay. Hearing this guy say this. But so that's a total different discussion actually.
Yeah.
That's maybe a topic that we can, how to master something.
Well, maybe if I can touch on that, and Mike, you're welcome to jump in on this, but how many discussions have we had, where you can hear people carry a level of wisdom, right? They and I don't want to tie wisdom to logic, but I mean, you can hear if people, I almost said, or of sound mind. Yes, that sounded so bad. But I mean, you can obviously hear that you're speaking to somebody that is carrying something, right? But here's the thing, you can hear that there's no depth of knowledge. And then when you have a good conversation with somebody, you can hear the depth of knowledge. Like the conversation we had this morning with that fund manager. I mean, it's next level. You can hear the depth of knowledge. 100%.
Of the understanding of the market. You can see he didn't come
Listen,
in the
he didn't
position.
just do his research
Yeah.
yesterday and now he's trying to
It's
gooi you on
embedded in
YouTube.
him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He didn't go to read something off. It's within him.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, you grow into something, right? That's the thing. So case in point, you need to take the time, even you joining us in business, you need to take the time to become knowledgeable about things.
Yeah, exactly. There's a learning curve involved.
Exactly.
For sure.
Listen, I think from what we're trying to do here, and this I think is important for our audience, with regards to going after your dreams, is it even before you go out to do that, right? Take the time to prepare well.
Yeah.
Like launch into the DPS when the time is right, but take the time to prepare well. Something else that I want to touch on, and I think this is a question to both of you guys, is the embedded thinking, that the embedded thinking of selfishness when people go into business. Because we've now referenced, yes, go out into business, go and do your thing, right? But it's one thing if you do that from the perspective of, I want to become rich, as opposed to, I want to become valuable within the marketplace to mean something for people, right?
Yeah.
What role do you think that actually plays in actually this whole job creation situation that we're sitting in? Do people actually, or why do people actually not start businesses to employ a lot of people?
Yeah, well, I think it's exactly what you said. It's to get rich and to get rich quick. And I think if you're looking to chase the money as opposed to the value that you can add, we've mentioned it. Then when it gets tough, you're just going to quit. If the money's not flowing in with a year or 2 years, you can be like, well, this is not working. Let me go on to the next thing.
Yes.
But if you're looking to add value and you know that you can add that value, you're going to push through those times. You're going to persevere, and eventually you'll get there.
Yeah, for me, Stefan, I think the thing, listen, greed and money controls people.
Yeah.
And power controls people. So the people will always, and not to say, the thing is, when there's a lot of money flowing into businesses, we all know that no matter how much money you have, there's always somebody that's got more money than you. There's somebody that's got a nicer car than you, got a nicer boat. If you're in the yacht scene, there's a bigger yacht. If you're in the jet scene, there's a bigger jet. If you're in the car scene, there's bigger cars. In Dubai, cars is not even a problem anymore. Now they're debating over number plates. So the thing is, it's always, no, they're bidding on bloody number plates. How
That's
stupid
crazy.
is that?
Yeah,
So the thing is, value will be created by the people with money, and the value goes to where they spend their money. So the thing is, when you're not in a situation where you're happy, when you're not in a situation where you're after your talents and deploying your talents to get paid for, greed eventually, I believe, will creep in. And I believe that people start out with the wrong intention because they've got a bad reference. Because there are not a lot of people that start businesses to really look after their people.
Yeah.
And I believe that's, you know me well, so I believe that if we in a business and everybody around us within our business, we don't, make their lives better and they get richer, because no matter how you say you're working in a super lucky environment, if the people's not making money and they cannot put and provide for their families, what's the business then?
Yes.
With? So I believe that's the future of business. If you're not going to look after your people, you're going to lose them, and they're just going to work for firms or companies that people look, or that the managers and the owners look well after their people. So I really believe there's going to be a big shift towards that. I don't believe that everybody needs to be entrepreneurs. No, everybody's not good for that.
Not, yeah.
But
Definitely.
specifically on your question, I believe, I 100% believe that it should be the way. But I believe greed creeps in.
Yes.
And keep them from, paying their people what they actually are worth.
Yes.
And power, to keep the power. Because when people becomes dependent on you, it's a form of power that you have over them.
Yeah, because if you've made enough money, what's the next level, right? Then obviously you want power and you want to maintain it.
That's it. So that's what I believe.
Yeah. I want to throw you a big curveball, and I apologize for this. If you don't want to answer, you're welcome. But it is something that that's come up, in terms of the stuff that I've read, and it's this whole challenge with regards to these huge salaries that the CEOs are getting, and justifying that in terms of job creation, right? So, and I mean, this is really a difficult one, but the question, I'm going to try and simplify the question, right? But how do you think you justify those huge salaries, as opposed to using a substantial portion of those salaries and bonuses to actually create more jobs within your organization?
That is a tough one. But I think it goes back to what we just spoke about in terms of adding value. So obviously the CEOs are in that position because they can add value. And if they're bringing the value to the business, then sure, if it justifies the salary, it justifies the salary. But having said that, I believe it should be proportionate. I mean, going back to what you said, Dan, like, there's no point him earning 10 million a month, but then every employee under him is earning 5,000
But that's
rand.
the issue, Mike, in our country. We were in discussions with people that say some in senior positions know they've got 5 years. So they're milking that 5
Yeah,
years.
exactly, yeah.
And I think maybe that's what you're referring to a little bit.
A little bit,
Is
yeah.
the people that know they've got 5 years, they don't give a damn with the employees, pal.
Yeah.
They're there to earn and cash out in that 5 years. And this is not, let's say, just the CEOs. This could be mid to, not even C-suite. So they look, and ask, man, I've been in a situation this week where one of my friends is in a situation where senior management wants to get them out and say, so literally what happened, let me give you the scenario. He's looking after a couple of, clients, but he's doing a lot of other clients as well. So he's a little bit overloaded with work, but he's they're in different positions, but sort of same level. So let's say CEO and this two oaks. This guy tried to take some work from him. He didn't even know it.
Yeah.
The thing is, that guy tried to snipe him, and the guy just said to the CEO, listen, if this is the case, in August there will be a problem.
Yeah.
And the CEO didn't believe this because he believed the stories of this guy, and obviously gave all these clients to him to leave him to do some other work. And he just did it because he listened to the CEO. Now August, it hit it exactly what this guy says happened, and that oak now sits with the baked potatoes. So the problem here is he tried to lie and do all these things just to earn more because he wanted to get into a power position over this guy because they were on the same level.
Yeah.
You get my point. So, and this is one scenario that one of my friends explained to me that's happening this week.
Yeah. But look,
that's exactly what's happening because he wants to get to the top level and, with the CEO be in the good position and look like he knows. And over time, it showed that he didn't know what he was doing.
But look, that is the issue. But then that's an institutional and a systematic issue.
Yeah.
Then that's a call to action for people like us trying to build business in a different way, where you value the people below you. You're not trying to grab what you can in the set time frame. You have to retire at 60, so you're getting as much as you can and stuff the rest and stuff the people below you.
Yeah.
So that is a system and an institutional issue. So then it's up to the next generation of business owners to change that, and then to go to value the people and provide them with what they deserve, even if that means you take a little bit less. So then if it's not about the value thing, it's about shifting the paradigm and having a new way of doing business.
Yeah.
Well, I think ultimately what's important is you'll need to increase revenue streams, right, to actually add more, to bring in more employees, and those two tie in hand, because here's the thing. I mean, businesses are not in business to not make money.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, you can't expect necessarily the CEO to now say, listen, cut my salary in half and employ more people.
Precisely.
There's no point. If the CEO is actually adding that level of value, then surely he can demand that salary. That's the whole point of having or being within a capitalistic system. But I think it's a valuable question because a lot of people, I mean, I saw the article come out, in South Africa with the top 20 or top 40 listed company salaries, and it's a crazy figure, and people obviously look at that and say, but listen, can't we just distribute this amongst the employees and create more jobs? But logically, that doesn't make sense because
exactly.
No, I don't think that.
Point.
The thing is, I believe if you create value for your people, and value is difficult because it will be different in some businesses. It's not the same. But if you create value and you allow them to deploy their talent towards the market within your organization, I believe the longevity of that organization will be stable, and the growth, they call it the J curve. So then the J curve becomes, relevant. And that's the thing that we spoke earlier about, to be persistent and diligent with something over a period of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I think our message for this episode is
Look after your people.
look after your people and
look after yourself.
Well, listen, don't not look after yourself.
Not in a selfish way, but pursuing what you want to do as opposed to just being stuck in something. That's what I'm saying. Look after yourself, and if that means going into business, look after your people.
Yeah.
I hear you. What I was wanting to say is simply we need people to actually really start businesses so that we could add jobs in the marketplace. And when I say step up, to actually start businesses to employ people, I think it's really important for our country. So yeah,
That's it.
happy gentlemen. Thank you very much. Is that the end of episode 8 or 9?
9.
The end of episode 9.
Cheers.
And like DáNiel always says, like, subscribe, do your thing, comment, and thank you for sharing this time with us. Ciao.